This video is brought to you by Miniature Market. Thousands of board games, discounted prices, miniaturemarket.com.
Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today it's all about the robots. But not just the robots, it's all about dirty robots. Lots of dirt's gonna be infected in here because we're trying to build our theme park again, but today we're looking at Steam Park. We're looking at two different expansions today, Play Dirty and the Robots expansion. We're doing them both in this one video. Let's show you what it includes, and I'll see you on the other side. First, let's look at the Robots expansion. It comes with this nice new bag, which has stitched the name Steam Park. The original bag did not have that in there. And it comes with new components, new robots to replace the original robots, and some new ones. So let's take a look at these closely. Now here's what the robots look like. As you can tell, they are a lot cooler looking than the plain old wooden ones, and they're sort of a rubber, and they have eyes and their hands in there. It's much cuter, of course, definitely a component upgrade. Now let's talk a little bit about the two ones on the left, which weren't in the original game. We have the gray ones and the gold ones. Now these are the VIR, very important robots. These are the stingy robots, the gray ones. Now they get separated out and put sort of in the same pile as all the other ones, but they don't get added to the beginning of the game like the other normal ones do. And when these guys go on your rides, they stay there for the entire game. But let's talk about how you get these and in more detail what they do. Now, if on your turn you have an action, the robot action, but you only do one of these, only one, you get to take two robots, one of your type that you want, and place it in the bag like normal, and one of these VIR gold robots in the bag. Then when you draw them, instead of just pulling one, you actually get to pull two. So what happens if you do pull one of these? Well, they're wild, so they can go on any ride. They stay there for the whole game. They still get you the normal 3 denarii for being in your ride, and they still receive 1 dirt for them. But they're considered to be their own color, so for bonuses and such, they literally are their own color, not necessarily the color of the ride. Now those ones I just talked about, the VIRs, they are not in the other expansion I'm about to talk about, Play Dirty, so this is the only way you can get those robots. Now these robots are in the other expansion, but they're the normal wooden pieces, so this piece, this one adds them as well, but you can also use the newer rubber robots here. Now, how these work is if you're trying to put a robot in this bag like normal, and there aren't any. So let's say you want blue, there's no blues. Instead of that, you can take one of these stingy robots and put it in the bag with the others. Now, if you pull one of these, they act like a wild, they can go on any ride, but they're a color of their own, and you only get 2 denarii for them, but they do not, cause any dirt, so that's good as well. So those are how those two robots work, and that's essentially this entire expansion. You get these two newer robots, you get all new robots here in a new bag, and this is really the big thing, because that's not in any of the other expansions, and the components are really cool. This expansion adds a 5th player, so you get another pig board, another main board, new dice, and another one that says 4. It says just add them to there if you have a 4th player. I'm not sure why they didn't just make this a 5 and keep it the same. It's a little confusing, but you just use 2 4s, I guess, for the 5th player. This expansion also comes with the Stingy Visitors, which I've already explained how they work earlier in this video, but these are the wooden versions of those. There's new rides here. They're both extensions. You have the Rusty extension and the Golden extension. Both of them have one each of 3, 2, and 1 sizes. How do they work? Well, let's say I had all 3 red rides here as normal, and let's say I put one of the extensions here. So it basically acts like a wild, so it could be placed there like normal. And then when you place a robot, you could place any color there. So let's say I placed a black one here like this, even though it was essentially, it's wild, so you can put them there. Now, if it's not the same color as your ride, this robot will go back to the pool at the end of the round, just sort of like the info point stand. But if you do place the same one on there, so red, even though this was originally a red wide, it would stay there until the end of the game as usual. And each regular ride can only have 1 extension. Now, if you have all filled the extension with the same color as the ride, you get a 1-time penalty. If it's the Rusty one, I put these here so you can see, you actually get 2 dirt for every one of these. If it was the Golden ride, you lose $2 for each of those, just to make it balance out how powerful that possibly could be. And there's 6 different park directors where you either select one or randomly select one. Each game you only have one of them, and they change the rules of the game. Like this one here, the sweeper. Essentially, if you use 2 of those shovels, you get to remove half of your dirt rounded down. Over here we have the Tycoon, and this is sort of a betting mechanic where everyone starts with 10 denarii, and at the before the roll, at the end of the roll phase, you're going to basically secretly bet a certain amount of money. The one who bet the most gets to steal a die off the pig board of the one who did the least. The one who did the least gets the money back. Everyone else gives half their money rounded down away. The barcode tile, when you take visitors that you don't need, they're the wrong colors, you place them on here. And then later when you want to take visitors, you can actually take them from here, but you take a dirt. So it's a little bit easier to get the robot colors that you want. This one is the planner. You roll your dice once, and then one die at a time, you place them on the result that you want on the planner. The architect allows you to break the building rules, so you basically can build rides adjacent to stands and rides against to other rides, but if you get another tile, you have to take 2 dirt. The gambler is whenever you finish a bonus, you put it under here and you get as much denarii as the round that you're in, so 5 on the first round and so on and so forth, and then at the end, all these get flipped up and then you score the bonuses then. Now there's a new thing called the espionage die. Everyone gets one of these and 2 denarii at the beginning of the game. And you roll these with your normal dice and you place them on your pig board as your normal dice. They cannot be affected by stands. They cannot be affected by any, they cannot be used with any bonus cards. And to be able to keep it, you have to pay for it. By default, you have to pay 4 denarii to keep it, but you pay 1 less for each one of whatever that side this is from the player to your right. So if you're watching the player to your right and you see that they have a bunch of the same thing, you can basically take that action for very cheap, if possibly free. Now the game comes with 5 new unique stands that you can mix with or take out of from the original. So each game you're going to still have 5 different stands, but you get to choose or randomly select which ones they are. On the left, we have the fountain. So that one is you can spend 2 denarii at the end of your action phase to discard 2 dirt tokens. The next one is the Hall of Mirrors. It copies the ability of a kind of stand that you put next to it, but you can only have 1 mirrors for each kind of stand. So essentially it allows you to mirror something else. The office allows you to carry 1 more bonus card than normal, and when you use a bonus card action on the dice, it acts as if you had rolled 2 of them. The shooting gallery allows you to basically, during the action phase, re-roll a die on your pig board. And if you have multiple stands, you can re-roll that die more than once. For each re-roll, you gain 1 denarii, and if you roll a blank, you gain 2 instead. In the incinerator, during the income phase, if you have the most dirt, you gain 2 denarii for each of these stands that you have. And if you wanted to select these randomly, they included tiles for the old stands and the expansion stands that you could either randomly select or manually select if you want. So like this is one from the old one, here's some of them from the new ones, and they have little icons that help you remember what they do. And the question everyone's gonna ask, can you fit everything in the box? I did get everything to fit, just barely, but pretty much everything is in here and it fit and closed fine. All right, there you have it. So let's go through it all. Let's go through robots first. Essentially, it's a component upgrade. If you didn't like the little wooden pieces or you want these awesome, cool little sculptures that are robots, that are sort of rubber, it's kind of a no-brainer. It's really cool. I like them a lot better than wooden ones. And they add not only the extra robot that's in the Play Dirty expansion, but also adds a new robot that is not anywhere else. Those VIRs, the ones that can be, that you can put anywhere, and you get them when you just play 1 die of that color. That's awesome. I like that. That one's kind of a no-brainer if you like component upgrades and to get an extra way to play pretty easily. Now let's talk about the Play Dirty expansion. First of all, 5 players. Usually when an expansion adds an extra player, it's not good, and I would agree. In this case, this is the thing I like the least about this expansion, because the only complaint I ever hear about Steam Park, at least from me and from everybody else that for some reason isn't in love with it as much as I am, the downtime. After you're done rolling with 4 players, it's a significant amount of downtime if you're 4th, waiting for everybody to take each of their die's actions, to pull things out of the bag, to put them there. By the time around, there's some downtime. With 5, it's even worse. And they try to combat that by making it 1 round shorter, so the game takes the same length, but you actually are playing less amount of times in that same time period. I don't recommend the 5th player. It's the only thing in this expansion that I actually disliked. The rest of them I could either take or leave, or I love. Let's get to the ones that I can take or leave. The extra bonus rides, I could take or leave them. I know a lot of people like to have these wild rides. They would want to put them on there, and then you could put other robots on there and still get bonuses. The problem is I like the aspect of the original game that you could run out of rides, and it gave things a lot more tension. I think this was put in there mainly also because you could play with a 5th player and the rides would get, taken up a lot quicker. And since I'm not playing with 5 players, the extra rides is probably not something I'm going to play with a lot. I could take or leave it. Let's go to the cool little robots. We have the VIRs from the robot expansion, and we have the gray robots, the dirty robots there. The lazy ones, or whatever they're called. I liked both of these. I thought it was interesting because sometimes you get towards the end and there's not enough robots of the ones you want. You can pull them out. So I would probably always play with those. It's definitely a good addition, but again, it's kind of turning itself towards 5 players because the robot's going to run after. They're going to run out a little bit quicker with that. So, but at the same point, I still like it. I think it's cool to have those robots that are wild, and if you get to the part where somebody's focusing on those robots, you can get some wild ones in there. I think that's cool. The little espionage dice I thought was cool. This is another take it or leave it. I like it, but it definitely inducts a lot more thinking into the speed aspect, which some people are not going to like that. I thought it was pretty cool. It's like, hey, I'm going to roll this. You could not even pay attention to it and then look over and go, hey, that person rolled 4 of those. I have 1. I can get it for 1. Sure, let's do it. Other people might try to see what they're doing and rolling it. So I thought it was cool. You might as well add it in because, again, even just randomly you might be able to use it. But for the people that do want to both use speed and tactics at the same time, it adds another layer of depth. Decent. The next one are the park directors. I love this. One of them, every game, changed the way the game's played, either randomly or select it. Absolutely love this. One of my favorite parts of the expansion. The new rides, the stands. Absolutely love these too. If you've played this game a lot, the same 5 stands started to get a little stale, and I'm glad they put this in there. And I like that they have those tiles that you can either randomly have 5, or you can select which 5 you want, and those tiles help you with the abilities. I think that's cool too. So the stands and the directors are my favorites. But overall, I think this adds a lot. It's a game that hasn't had an expansion yet, and I'm glad they have different modules that you can pick and keep. And for me, Steam Park is a game I love, and I think this did a lot of things to make it even better. And for the things that I didn't care about, it doesn't really care, because the ones that I do love makes this game even more replayable and more fun for me, and that's Steam Park Play Dirty and Roblox, those 2 expansions.
This video was sponsored by Miniature Market's Review Corner. The Review Corner features podcasts, video, and written game reviews by gamers for gamers. Miniature Market, the online gaming superstore. Thousands of board games, discounted prices. Check them out at miniaturemarket.com. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for backing me on Kickstarter, making this season become a reality. I'd like to especially thank those here that have backed me at the credit level. Now, these video reviews are also available by audio on our podcast. It's the intros and the final thoughts on GameBoyGeek.com. Click podcast.